Welcome to the Beyond Sunday podcast. My name is Steve.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are starting a brand new podcast for you students out there to cover topics that we can't necessarily elaborate on a Sunday morning. We're going to be talking somewhat about things that we've talked about on Sunday, and then sometimes handling some of your questions.
Yeah, we love Q&As, so we will ask you guys occasionally for questions, and then we'll answer them here on the podcast. And we'll also get some personal stories from other people. We love to hear other people's stories and their dynamics and their experiences. So we're going to have guests on and interview people and just get other perspectives on some of the topics that we cover and what God's Word says about it.
Yeah, this is all this is like one step further to help you grow in your faith and kind of fill in some of the gaps in the week when you can't be here at the church. You could still like hone in who you are as a believer and get a little bit more insight into things that maybe you had questions about on Sunday. So we really hope you enjoy this. Just a little bit about ourselves. I don't know if like maybe you don't know Sarah and I as well as you want to. So Sarah and I have been married for 17 years. I always want to say 18 years, but it's not 18 years yet. It's 17 years. But we've been dating. How long have we been together, Sarah?
About 18 years, and we'll be hitting 18 years of marriage in December.
Yes, it'll be 19 years though from when we met. We had a very short, like dating to engagement to
Yes.
being married. It was about a year and a half.
Hey, when you know, it's the right person, and
or in my case, you want to trick somebody that you know is well out of
not
your.
trick.
You sure about that?
Yes,
You sure about that?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure. It was all a ruse for you not to really know who I was. No, that's not it. No.
Ruse,
But no. 17 happy years of marriage. Have 4 wonderful children, who are 2 of them are in the teen ministry now, which is crazy.
That
2
is
of them
crazy.
are driving us crazy.
Yeah.
Is that how you'd put it?
Well, I like to say 2 of them give us confidence in our parenting, and 2 of them keep us humble in our parenting. So that's how I like to phrase that.
Yeah.
So if you are newer to the youth group and you don't know us as well, this is sort of our history, our dynamic, and pretty much our entire marriage. We've been in youth ministry together.
Yes.
We started serving together right away when we got married, and this is what we do. This is who we are.
Yeah, I want to say fall of 2008 was the first time that we got involved in the teen ministry. I think that's when we were kind of welcomed in, because I believe it was January of 2009 is when I started as the worship leader for the teen ministry.
That's
and that
right.
was our introduction. So I think summer of 2008 was the first time we went on an event. Do you remember what the event was?
Cedar Point.
It was.
Yeah.
It was Cedar Point, and
good
we
time.
were so young.
Yeah, we were babies.
Oh, we were. I look back at that and I'm like, man, at least me. I feel like you were mature beyond your years, even when we first got married. You were.
No, I thought I knew what I was doing. I'm like, I'm an adult. I know what I'm doing.
But here's the thing: you did know better than I did. And so no matter what, you were the more mature of the 2 of us. I was like, some of the stuff that I would ask Matt, who was the former youth pastor here at the church. That was so long ago. But anyway, but when he was the youth pastor, some of the stuff that I would ask him or like try to get away with, I'm like, I that would absolutely drive me insane if somebody else was doing that to me. Luckily, we have amazing leaders here in our teen ministry. Nobody we have to deal with quite like Matt having to deal with me.
I don't think you were as much of a problem as you think you were. I think we were just young and green, and we didn't know things, so you learn as you go.
Maybe. I don't know. I think it was a lot rougher. I think Matt was very gracious with me.
He was. I think we have a lot more understanding now, being in his position of having to be the one that's like, no, you cannot do that.
Yeah, my favorite Matt story was when I first started into ministry. It was my first week on staff. And I'm just trying to figure out what being a pastor even looks like, because there's nobody that like holds your hand and guides you through it. Like you just kind of figure it out along the way. And Matt really did help me like in that first year because he was still a youth pastor. He was just at a church like, a few hours away. And I called him my very first week. And I'm like, Matt, what do you do all week? And he's like, I want you to write that down and remember saying that, because he's like, you will never have another time where you feel like I can't fill this schedule. And he is prophetic.
Yes.
Really
so
prophetic.
Right. It's, you don't know what you don't know in the beginning. And it's so funny because the kids will ask you now, like, wait, is this your full-time job? Like, what do you do all week? And you're like, I can't even begin to explain what I do all week.
The question that makes me like my brain want to explode, but not in a mean way, but it's like, you think that I do something else? Like, this is all I do, all we do. I feel like our conversations, even at home, are a lot of times about what we're doing.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Here and trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
But we also do like to talk about our faith with one another. And that's why, we're doing this with you. Like, we wanted to just dive a little bit deeper into understanding who we are as believers. Like we said, the format's going to be a little bit different every single week. Sometimes we'll have a topic that we want to, go a little bit deeper into from Sunday morning. Sometimes we'll interview people from the staff here at the church, or, like in the surrounding community at some point. And then sometimes we'll just answer the questions that you write to us on Sunday mornings, which, one of my favorite Sundays is Q&A Sunday, which we have not done in quite a while.
Yeah, we're due for a Q&A Sunday. But even Q&A Sundays are so hard to answer all those questions within like one service or even a couple services. So to have like a little bit of a write-in system where they can ask the questions and then we can like take our time answering them, I think it's going to be a lot more helpful. And I love Q&A because I love to know what is in the student's brain.
Exactly.
What are you wondering about? And let's dig into that together.
Yep.
So I'm excited about that.
So let's get into our topic for today. Right now in the teen ministry, what we're covering is the values, basically, of our teen ministry. So at the beginning, before the school year started, our team sat down and we discussed like the 7 things that we are going to put the most emphasis on moving forward. So kind of casting a little bit of vision, but understanding like these are the values that we need to hold to. And like those values encompass a lot of the worship elements of what, of being a believer in Christ, which means, our time with God, our prayers with God, our worship of God, like all those things that like come in and are like essential to who we are as believers. And the very first week, which is now a couple weeks ago at this point, our very first week, we talked about Jesus is the center of our lives, which for any person that's heard of Christianity, it might be the most no duh kind of thing, right? Like you hear, oh, Jesus is the center. Isn't that like the softball answer always? But it is. But at the same time, a lot of times I feel like that gets misconstrued or misunderstood of what it actually means to make Jesus the center of your life.
Or a little convoluted or a little bit complicated. Like people can start to place a heavier priority on certain aspects of being a believer and making that the important thing. And so I think we just want to make sure we are stating clearly up front, Jesus is the center, to keep that. Sometimes you have to kind of recalibrate when you're going off, down a path that you're really focused in on one aspect of things. It's easy to let something else seem to be more important, like one aspect of our faith. But really, we have to pull it back every time to He is the center. He is what we are about. And so you had said in one of your services that the values don't necessarily have like a hierarchy or a priority level, except this one. This is the first one. This is the top. Yeah. Everything else, it's not that one is more important than the other. So they could kind of go in any order. But this one is first because it is top priority.
It is the first and foremost, yeah. None of the other values really even make sense if this isn't the main thing,
right?
None of the other, nothing else matters outside of like once we understand Jesus being the literal center of our lives, not this like idea that we have. Because I feel like a lot of times when it comes to our faith, or like early on in our faith, or if we have like kind of a misunderstanding about what being a Christian means, like Jesus is part of my life. And I think sometimes, unfortunately, that's how it's explained is like, yeah, you make God part of your life. And I think that's why you have a lot of people that would call themselves Christians because God's part of my life and I pray when I need to pray and I do. But that's not making him the center of your life. And there is a huge difference between saying God is part of my life and God is the center of my life. They might not sound all that different, but they couldn't be more different.
Yeah. So what is the difference? I'm gonna pick your brain a little bit. We thought throughout this series it'd be cool to like ask some experts, and so you're expert number one.
Oh boy,
because you have dedicated your life to this. So,
sure.
What's the difference between believing in Jesus and living for Jesus?
I mean, believing in Jesus is this, but I mean, it goes right there with the statement. It's I believe that Jesus was real. I believe that he taught. I believe in some of those teachings. I think the things that he said are good. Like those are all ways of saying that I believe in him. And I think that's a lot of times why we end up with like very superficial relationships with Jesus is because it's based solely on our understanding sometimes of who Jesus is. And like I think one of the big problems that people can get caught up in is like, I come to church every week. I believe in Jesus. So why isn't this like working? Why don't I understand like why I'm not like people talk about like finding joy and peace in life from knowing Jesus and believing in Jesus. And it's a matter of having head knowledge without allowing it to really be heart knowledge. I think that's, the differentiation, right? Like I can know all the things about Jesus. I could believe, which is a mental game, is believing, but allowing that to really be absorbed by my heart, by my soul, by like my understanding and how I live is totally, totally different. When we say that Jesus is the center of my life, that means that everything, all of my decisions are based around what he would call me to do. Like I'm living for him. I think, Romans 12, 1 and 2 tells us exactly what that looks like. Yeah, let me pull that up real quick. I should have it memorized because I quote it constantly, but I'd much rather quote it exactly. But it says, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good, acceptable, and perfect. And that's really speaking about, Romans 12 is a chapter that we should read constantly. It's all about Christian living, but it starts right there. Like our hearts and our minds should be focused on what God desires of me, the things that I need to lay aside and sacrifice so I could do what he's calling me to do. And that is what is making Jesus the center of my life really means. I'm not living for me. I'm living for him in all things. Like that. There's no I in living for Jesus. It's him.
So when would you say that became a reality for you? Because I think we can take head knowledge and absorb it and have all the information. But like you said, it's kind of intellectual at that point. Like you understand it in theory. But when did that actually become a reality for you? To actually start living for Jesus, not just like believing all the things about him.
Yeah. So that's kind of like a tough question to answer because I can't like pinpoint a moment in my life where like the light bulb really went off. I feel like this is one of those things that, and I don't know, maybe it's most Christians. It's something that like it's an epiphany that we have again and again and again because I feel like we could get sidetracked. Like we could be on that course and doing just that, like allowing God to be the absolute center of all things, allowing that to be the outflow of our life. Like everything is stemming from him, and it flows into all aspects and areas of our lives. And then we can kind of like get derailed and get selfish and like focus in on my goals and my desires and my wants and my, maybe even my needs on some level. So I would say the first time that it was really real to me, where I was like, I need to lay aside what I want, was probably like somewhere in my early 20s. Because up until that point, it was all head knowledge. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't say that I didn't have emotional reactions to some things. I mean, I was raised in a Pentecostal church, so that's a lot of emotional. I'm not dogging on but a lot of the teaching and a lot of the presentations are going to pull from, are going to pull on emotion, like elicit an emotional reaction, which, like, I mean, biblically speaking, that can deceive you. Mm-hmm. Like, you could be very easily deceived when you allow emotions. And I kind of was, because it's like, well, if I don't feel this way, then I must not be doing it correctly. So I would say sometime in my early 20s, like right around the time that you and I started dating, and we started going to church together. Not that we were like this perfect little Christian couple at all. I think both of us were kind of discovering who we were in Christ at that point. But that's when it started becoming really real, and I started seeing. I started taking more notice of what God was. God was always active in my life. I started taking more notice to the activity, that he was doing, and appreciating it more. And it's been an ebb and flow ever since. It's sometimes I really get it, and sometimes I'm like in it, and then sometimes I'm like completely dry. I mean, how about yourself? Like, when did you feel like you finally made that like decision that he's going to be the center of my life, and how's that experience been?
Yeah, so I feel like growing up, I grew up in church, and so I knew all the Bible stories, and I knew that I was kind of told Jesus is your savior. It wasn't really like a choice I was making. It was like a statement of fact. So I never didn't believe that was true. I always believed that was true. But again, it was like I was taking that knowledge. Yeah, I believe that's true. But I was not really transferring that to my life and like living it out until I was it was probably a couple months before I met you, and I kind of had a moment of like clarity and conviction with the Lord, where I kind of placed a situation in his hands, and I'm like, all right, God, if you're in this, like, I need to see you in this situation. Yeah. And I'm giving a very abbreviated version. Like, if you've been in the youth ministry any length of time, you've probably heard my like full testimony, but just for the sake of time, like I put something out there to God, and I said, God, I just need to see you in this. And he answered it immediately. And now I will tell you, most prayers I pray to God, he does not answer immediately. So like that was a kind of a rare situation, but it like ignited my faith because I saw him. I'm like, okay, God, I see you. I see you working in my life, because I asked, you answered. It was not the answer I wanted. I was actually hoping to get the opposite answer, but because he answered so quickly and so clearly, I was like, okay, I trust you. It started this trust relationship where I'm like, all right, I see you working, and I can hand my life over to you. I feel like I was really just I was at the wheel, I was driving, or I thought I was,
Sure.
Up to that point. And like, yeah, I believe in Jesus, but like I've got control of my life. But once I kind of offered that up to him, and he showed me like, I'm with you, I'm in this, then I'm like, okay, so now that I see. So for me, it was like a very distinct moment. And like you said, a bunch of little moments here and there in between where I definitely see him working. But I think it's important to note that like it doesn't always happen the same way for every believer. Sure. Like you said, it's kind of like always been there, sometimes a little more notable than other times, where you can like see it a little more clearly. And some people have like a moment. They can tell you the day and the time, but some people are like, I've just kind of always had it, like as long as I can remember, I've had a relationship with God, So if that happens to be your testimony, don't ever downplay that. That is huge. I think it is, because if you think about the work that was done, leading up to you becoming a believer as a child, and it just having that knowledge pretty instantly, and just like growing up, like say you grew up in church, or you just grew up around believers who like, really fed that into you, and you absorbed it and you took it as truth right away. The generational work that God did in the lives of like your parents or grandparents, or that's no small thing. That is like generations of people praying and people coming to Christ. And so don't ever downplay that as like, I don't know, I don't really have like a strong testimony. You do have a strong testimony.
Sure.
That is generational work being done to get you to that place of like you can know it and accept it at a young age. That's huge. So
that's awesome. Yeah, for sure. Going back to one of your comments though, like it's not the answer you wanted, but it did end up leading you.
Yes. Okay. So I was
me.
trying not to give the long version of that,
No,
but basically like God was shutting down a relationship with an ex-boyfriend that I thought was going somewhere, and God's like, no, that's not going anywhere. In fact, that shuts down today. And so
it was an answer to my prayers.
Absolutely an answer to prayer. Like, again, you can't see, like God knows so much better than us. You can't see what's going to happen in your life. But if you trust and allow God to do the driving, you know what I mean? Then he's going to lead you to amazing places. And obviously he had something so much better planned for me. Like, obviously we met, a couple months later, and then we just have this whole life. I couldn't have even pictured our life to be as good as it is. And I'm not saying our life is perfect, but I'm saying it is rich and it is full because we are on mission.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would have never dreamed any of that up as a teenager.
No. It's just funny. I'm sorry. I probably was injecting humor into something you were saying a little very seriously.
No.
So I
the
apologize.
blessing was I needed to shut that door and close that chapter of my life to open the next one, which was you.
The story goes like this on the backside of that. If we're going to inject a little bit more of our personal lives into this, is when one of my best friends growing up, who's now my brother-in-law, Keenan, he was dating your sister at the time. And I was like, oh, does she have any sisters? And he's like, yeah, there's one that's our age, but she's like kind of in a long-term relationship. I'm like, dang. And then it was like 2 months later, 3 months later, he's like, hey, you want to meet her? And I'm like, yeah, I do. They set it up, and that was it.
Yeah, it was.
I won you over.
We knew pretty quick. We're like, okay, this is the one.
Yeah. But that was like God setting us up, because I mean, I'm not like trying to pat ourselves on the back or anything, but we do make a very good team, especially when it comes to ministry work. Like I couldn't imagine doing this with anybody else. So
sure, yeah.
And that's a very high compliment. Me doing this by myself would be an absolute nightmare. So
either one of us. That's and this could be a whole other series in itself. But that's sometimes the beauty of when God puts two people together is like, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Ooh. And so you can together do more. You know, if you're on mission together and you keep focused on God, it's easy to let other distractions come in there and derail. But if your values are aligned and you are focused on God together, like He can do a lot in and through you as a couple. So
write that all down, kids.
That's marriage advice for later.
We just gave you amazing advice. Amazing. All right. Was there something else you had other questions?
Yeah. So just talk to the students who are in that place where they believe in Jesus, but they are struggling to really make Him the center of their lives.
Okay.
Like, what advice would you give them on how to do that?
Yeah. Cut out the nonsense. No, I'm just kidding. We're gonna. We're studying Colossians. We were studying Colossians for the first 2 weeks of this series, and I think it'd be beneficial for me to read that to you, especially. So, chapter 3 of Colossians, Paul's speaking to the church in Colossae, however you want to say it. Like, both are right, but the way I say it's absolutely objectively correct. It says this: If then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things that are above and not on things of the earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you will also appear with him in glory, meaning that I'm setting aside, once again, this kind of goes back to, Paul wrote on the same thing a lot of times in just very different words, but it's like I am rejecting the old life and moving into the new life in Christ, and he's going to be my all and everything. And then he gets into the things that we need to deny, absolutely deny ourselves of. And it says, put to death, therefore, the earthly things that are in you, sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry. On account of these, the wrath of God is coming. He's saying, get rid of those things that are going to rule your life. And I forget who said it. I don't know if it was Jonathan Picluda or Matt Chandler, or it might have been Levi Lusk. I don't know. We listen to so many different people, and it's hard to keep straight who says what because it's all brilliant. But they said I think it was Levi Lusko, now that I think about it. There's three main areas of life that will always trip us up and make us fail. And that is our three sinful things. It's sex, it's greed, and it's the pride of life. And so those three areas, the enemy is very good. I mean, because it's like there's no new tactics. It's all the same. It's different circumstances for the same thing. And so those things we need to be aware of. Those are the things that are going to derail my attempt to be closer to God and allow him to truly be at the center of all things. Because those three things take his place very easily. They get in there and they just become the desires of our heart. I mean, sex obviously for anybody is going to be, as you get older, you start to realize it all the more. It's going to be something that like you're just desirous of because of like the pleasure that it brings you, but it's ultimately something that's taken away from God. God created to be something special and intimate and bonding between a husband and a wife. Greed, I mean, the love of money and the love of more, materialism. I mean, the world's going to offer that to you left, right, and center. Like it's like it'll become the thing that you like are constantly just eager to get more, so you could have that feeling over and over again of happiness, which all ends up being empty anyway. And then the pride of life, that I am the center of the universe and everything revolves around me. I should have things this way. No one should talk to me that way. Like this mentality that the universe somehow has been centered on me, and I'm going to allow my emotions and my actions to be dictated by how I feel about the day that I have ahead of me. So three major lies that tear us away from the joy that Christ can bring to us in a daily walk with him. So centering our hearts and our minds around him, that means like I'm meeting with Jesus every single day. I'm surrounding myself with people that are speaking truth into me every single day. I'm meeting with God throughout the entire day. I'm going to him in prayer. It doesn't mean I have to stop in the middle of the hallway or something and like close my eyes and say a prayer. I'm just like consciously aware of the fact that God is always with me, and I can like just mentally speak to him and lift up prayers to him. Like I'm aware of his presence. That is what allows us to enter into this idea, not really idea, but the concept of putting Jesus as the absolute center, and then the teachings that I meditate on just flow out of me. My actions change because he has changed me inside and out. So we have to remove all the unnecessary to allow in what is truly good.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate something you already kind of said, is that our faith is not performance-based. And so when we read scripture and there's kind of a list of like do's and list of don'ts, that is not like you are a good Christian if you do these things and you don't do those things. Mm-hmm. Those are listed so, like you said, so that they are identified as stumbling blocks, so you can see them coming, or when they end up right in your face, like, oh wait a second, this is one of those things that's going to pull me away, mm-hmm. and so I need to remove it. So it's not like don't do those things and you're a good Christian.
Yes,
it is more so that just recognize those as things that get in the way of your walk with Jesus. Yeah. And so if you are not a believer and you have not yet made that decision to commit your life to Christ, keep listening, because our goal here is to keep giving people different perspectives and different examples, and just dive a little bit deeper and kind of show you that this is a relationship. It is not about how you act, how you perform, what you show to the world. It is internal. How do you connect with God?
Yes.
So we want to just kind of give different perspectives, different examples,
Insights.
different testimonies. Yeah, to kind of, I think people's stories really can help open our eyes to different things. So keep listening as we talk to other people and just kind of give different insight on some of these things that our walk with the Lord is so much more than a list of do's and don'ts. But we do go to the Bible for guidance. That's the our guidebook to life. It really does help answer a lot of the questions we have. It might not be your specific question, but it's going to help guide you.
Absolutely. And like Sarah was saying too, like we were trying to keep this short form, somewhat like a half hour at the most, which we literally just hit the 30-minute mark.
Oh, perfect.
So just stay tuned. Every single week we'll have something new for you that you could listen to in little, like even if you just listen to it in little doses, hopefully it helps you. And if you're listening to this and you have questions for us, please feel free to ask us. We are always here to meet your needs. That's our goal. So I'm Steve.
And I'm Sarah.
And this has been Beyond Sunday. We hope to see you. Well, hope you listen to
Sunday.
us. Yeah, we'll see you on Sunday.
And we'll talk to you next week.
We'll see you Beyond Sunday.